I've been doing marketing for over 3 decades, and one thing that I've never ever seen work is blaming the customer.
It never works. And the bad part is we
Now,
all do it because we think we have it figured out.
hi, I'm Rich Smith, and welcome to the Revenue Science Podcast, where we translate marketing and sales complexity into boardroom clarity for CEOs and founders. Today, I have an amazing guest. I'm joined by Lucas Wilson, President and CEO of Signpost. Lucas leads one of the most data-driven platforms, helping small and mid-sized businesses compete and grow in an increasingly complex market. Under his leadership, Signpost is scaled by combining technology, automation, and a deep understanding of their consumer and how real buyers actually make decisions. Today, we'll unpack how he creates predictable revenue, the behavioral science behind that, and what CEOs need to know to turn marketing noise into measurable business outcomes. Hey, Lucas, welcome to Web Revenue Science.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I wonder if we could start with maybe just get a little bit on your background first, and then we'll start talking about, Signpost and some other things.
Longtime revenue leader. Thought I had the entire world figured out until I became a CEO, and you realize you don't even have a fraction of the world figured out. Started out in family business, very SMB focused. Have had the privilege of being with service and software organizations that are focused on supporting SMBs. And so I always tell people I would make a horrible leader in any type of enterprise organization. And I connect very, very well with the SMB world because I've spent 3 generations of humans trying to figure out how to be successful in a small to medium business. So just very passionate about that piece of the world and providing better services, better software to the SMBs.
Yeah, that's great. I think that it's just a fantastic sector to be working in. I really feel like a lot of the small and medium sized businesses, they're the largest employers in the United States. There's so much job creation and new product and service creation that's happening in that sector of the economy. And it's one of the reasons why I like doing what I do is I enjoy seeing those organizations succeed because it's not just, the owner or the CEO, it just ripples out from them to the families, everybody else they touch and the great products and services they bring to the world that might not otherwise exist if, people aren't helping them to get there. So I think that's fantastic. So maybe let's get the CEO level version of Signpost. Who you are, core problem you solve. Where is the company today?
So we are a complete start over 10-year-old company. If you want to, I always tell people we function as a startup and we really shouldn't be a startup. We are the byproduct over the last 10 years of not having a clear identity, not passionately believing in who we serve, and then sticking to a core couple of solutions, right? I think the world, especially in the different capital markets that we've seen over the last, say, 15, 20 years, people took on a bunch of funding and they said, we're going to just solve all these problems. And they solved all the problems at about 60%, continued to go fundraise, and never really took a hold of the customer. So when I joined Signpost, this was round 2 with Signpost. I competed against them a number of years ago when I was at a company by the name of Main Street Hub. So ironic that they called me to come in this transition of Signpost. But over the last 2 years, we've spent the time saying, what do we want to be known for? And then we're going to maniacally focus on it. And what we've identified both in our customer base and across SMBs in general is that they have a very, very hard time communicating in an omni-channel communication world, right? If you think of, we've chosen to narrow in on the home service world. That is who the core of our business owners have been over the last decade. So we said, look, we're known to them, so we're going to stay with this group. And when we look at that group, they receive communication via social media, via their website, via text messages, via phone call. And then we as consumers are nastier than ever because if you don't answer, I'm moving on to somebody else because I'm in the great Republic of Texas. It's 115 degrees out today. My AC doesn't work and I want somebody to fix it now. And I don't care that I've known you, Rich, for the last 20 years and you've been my HVAC guy. I care that I'm out of cool air and somebody needs to come fix this. Right. And so it's become more challenging. So essentially over the last 2 years, we started with a service, which was a live answering service, a contact center, if you will. And we said, look, we're going to be your face because the average customer that we serve, we are not like a service titan. We're not servicing a company that's $100 million in revenue. We're servicing the folks that are between 3 to 5 million in revenue, say 3 to 5 trucks. The owner is still very much involved. His family, wife's probably running accounting, running payroll, running the front office. They make a great living. They have a great business, but they're still also teetering on running it almost like grandpa used to run it, right? Where they call his phone and they shouldn't be. They should get off the phone. They have a horrible time collecting AR. They have a horrible time just navigating all the digital pieces. And so over the last 2 years, we've navigated from being just a service into software, into a hub where they can see all of these communications and then down now to having AI work behind the scenes to be able to create auto responders, auto dialers, auto pieces to where now we're actually the back office and transitioning more in 26 to being even more of the back office on pieces like AR collection, billing, sending out payment links, all the pieces that will help you run your business. You just go focus on the business. Go handle the business and handle your customers.
Yeah, that's we're very well said and a great service you're providing. You know, the thing about a lot of those businesses is the consumer kind of use them as commodities in a way. And so they don't really, yes, they care about reviews and they care about good work, but that kind of comes after the fact, right? When you're looking for someone, yeah, you're looking for someone, you're, like you said, desperate. I live in a part of the country that gets a lot of snow. So, time of year, if your heat goes out, and I had that happen last year, it was a big problem. So, yeah, you get desperate. And rightly so, a lot of these owners, they work in the business too. So, for them to be producing revenue, they need to be working, not answering phone calls, right?
It is.
So,
I talk to so much pain that way, right? Like I listen to these guys and they're like, look, what do you want me to do? I don't like, I have 35 unanswered text messages on my freaking phone and I'm in an attic or under a crawl space. Like I don't know what you want me to do. Right. And I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no, you're 100% right. And anybody who's ever tried to like call or text their plumber or electrician feels that. I said, I think it's often helpful to me to we're all consumers as well. So understanding the consumer pain kind of helps you understand the pain that your service providers are experiencing and that you're helping to solve for them. I wonder, when you think about the growth of Signpost, was there any sort of inflection point that you hit where growth became more predictable?
Yeah, actually it did. And it was really when we narrowed in that focus. And ours was it was kind of we had to do it that way. We had run out of cash when I took over. I took over and they left me with say here's kind of just the raw business, right? And you don't have any way of funding any of these big projects that others might typically fund. And so at the end of the day, you're going to have to get really really focused on one thing because that's all you can afford to do, right? And so we're like, okay, now by force, we have to really dial all the way in on one thing. And the inflection point for me was I took the first 90 days at Signpost and I called the past, I think it was like 15, 1600 churned customers and just talked to them. So I'm not trying to resell you. I'm not trying to ask you to come back on board. You don't know me from Adam. I just want to ask you why you left. That's all I want. That's all I want to know. And it was every single one, two reasons. My business went down and I couldn't afford it, right? You're a nice to have, right? So I'm like, okay, we've got to have something that's more than a nice to have. So that's the first piece to go down. They can't live without us. Or they can live without us. We need to be. They can't live without us. Don't know how to do that. That was it's like, okay, I've come up with this. Don't know what that looks like yet. The second one was you guys freaking dropped the ball. I paid you. My customers are counting on you to pick up the phone, and you don't answer the phone. I can do that. I'm literally dropping calls. Why would I pay you, 500, 1,000, $1,500 a month to miss calls? So I was like, okay, the two things we've got to do, we've got to figure out how to better serve folks, right? Number one, like how do we become an integral part of their life more than just picking up the phone? And number two, when we say we're going to do something, how do we earn the right to get them to let us do it? Because we had to switch our company culture and we had to switch from sales all the way through. And I can talk through some of those other pieces here, but like, from sales to service to delivery, all the way through, we had to change the focus to we have to earn the right to do business with our customers. It's not expected. And I took that from a gentleman that I still, there's two founders of Homebase as a company, it's time tracking payroll HR company now. And I just idolize those two guys because they did the same thing in the early days of their business. They were both customer success reps and they were both like, look, we don't expect our customers to use us. We have to earn it. We have to go earn it. So we adopted that culture here, and that was an inflection point for us. We all of a sudden started being invaluable then.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing. And I think I definitely want to get into some of the, marketing and sales changes and other things that you did. But what I really loved about what you just said, and I kind of want to double click on it a little bit, is you took the time to listen to customers and on like what I would call that is kind of like gathering insights, right? Most people jump right to execution. And instead of, following a path where, gather insight about your customers, your competition, your current company culture, then you use those insights to develop sound strategy, which then leads to good execution. And everybody just wants to jump to execution and skip the first two steps, right? Or definitely skip the insight step because they feel like they know everything already. And so I think that's really, really smart the way you went about it. Uh, if you had to choose one driver that mattered the most, was it product market fit or solving those product issues? Was it execution discipline? Was it culture? What would you say?
I'm going to give you a split down the middle between two. And it was two things that I'm actually quite proud of this team for. The execution discipline piece was absolutely at the top because when you say you're going to do something, especially to an SMB entrepreneur, you've got to deliver. Like there's just no option. That's what they're paying you to do. You can't like they're not going to stay around because guess what? Their customers aren't staying with them either. Right? Like there is no loyalty to a home service pro today. It is cheapest, quickest, fastest, whatever, right? And I would say that why I say I'd split that down the middle, the tandem piece is you've got to fix your culture as a company. And what was very eye-opening to me is the company, the frontline company had the right culture. The management team did not. And the management team was so disconnected from the company that what was amazing to me, all this is forcing function. We didn't have the cash to have this big management team anymore. So one of my first steps is when I came in, I released all the management team. I'm like, wait, guess what? I'm now head of engineering, head of sales, head of HR, head of, you start going through. I had a joke made that you're now Jerry Jones in the Dallas Cowboys, right? Because now you've got full all the way across everything. You are the guy. And when you do that, now all of a sudden I'm hearing from all the frontline teammates that we have, right? And all those frontline teammates, all the only reason they're here is because they care about delivering those results. And so we had to fix that culture to where it went from the top, our management team, and we went out and handpicked a management team that is connected to SMBs that I previously built companies and teams with before to where we knew we had the right DNA. And then the rest of our team flourished. The team was already dialed in on, hey, I care about these customers I'm serving. It was very humbling to me because I'm like, man, we as a management team always think we're the ones driving everything for everybody, right? And it's such an ego play because you actually are probably the one screwing everything up for everybody because your team passionately cares. You're blocking it somewhere and you have no idea. So I think that was a big transition. I don't mean to ramble on that piece, but that it was very eye-opening and humbling for me. And the execution, once we taught it, had to put the right processes in place, documentation. Like this is how we do this. This is the new bar and expectation. Then the company already had the right culture on the front line, and they were able to get the execution correct.
Yeah, it's funny how many CEOs, culture the C word is kind of like a swear word, right? You're like, culture, why do we need that? Why is that important? And I'll get it wrong. There's a quote that I love, and I can't remember who to attribute it to, but it's, culture is what people do when you're not in the room. And that's just so important to understand that you can't do everything by yourself. I'm sure, uh, you know, when you let go of your whole management team, one of the probably big concerns you have is being a bottleneck for everything. So, yeah, right, yeah, yeah, but that can't last forever, right? Like, so at some point you've got to begin to level yourself up. So I'm curious, how did you avoid becoming a bottleneck? Well, I know some of it was on purpose, as you just said, but avoid just bringing the business to a grinding halt. And then what was your process for then beginning to level yourself up so that your company could grow?
So I will tell you, one of the biggest ones is checking your ego. You are not as good as you think you are as a CEO. You're not. It's just, and I am the guy, I will admit this embarrassing fact. I am the guy that as a VP of sales and CRO consistently thought I was way better than my CEOs. Like they don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're not making the hard decisions. And man, did I get punched right in the middle of my chest and then had my knees knocked out, right? Because you're like, oh, this is more complicated than you think it is. This is challenging, right? And so I think where I started to really switch is since my family's business, nothing has meant more to me than the success of this business. So when you do that, you see this team fighting every day. You see our customers. I've now talked to thousands of our customers who say, I need you to get it right. Like, I don't want to go find another service. You're forcing me to go find another service. I'd like for you guys just to do what you say, and then I can just go make a living, right? That's what I'd like to do. And so I think the switch for me was if I hold this up, I'm hurting my customer. I've got to find, and I went on a recruiting binge. I went out and found Sydney Anderson is our product and marketing leader. And she is not the typical product and marketing leader. What she has is the DNA of an SMB entrepreneur. And she has, I would say, a different way of looking at marketing and a different way of looking at product. But what I looked for in this team that I built of leaders was, do they passionately care about the customer? Are they afraid to pick up the phone? Will they do like I did and just start calling customers and say, look, tell us what we need to do? And then there's two pieces that really help me also. Stop litigating the past. I think CEOs litigate the past every day. Every meeting that you have, you say, why are the numbers like this? And you're looking backwards. You're never looking forwards. And then you send the team with all these homework assignments after that meeting for the next meeting. And it still has everything to do what happened in the last 30 days and nothing about what we're going to fix moving forward. That's a bottleneck. You created the bottleneck by saying, hey, I want to know all this data. If I want to know data, I go look at the data myself. I'm not asking the team. I want to know, what are we going to do to fix it? And the second piece is in our culture as a company. Um, Part of not litigating the past is when you come to a meeting, I want to know what we're going to do moving forward. Every conversation we have internally, and it's been for 2 years now, every conversation, we understand what we've screwed up and where we've missed. I'm not going to bring that up. I know data better than anyone. They all know I know it, and I know they know it. So let's have a conversation about what we're doing for our customers today and tomorrow to never repeat what we did yesterday. And that's how I have tried to not be in bottleneck. I still run into it. I still have my hands in way too many things. I ask way too many questions that I shouldn't ask. I ask frontline level questions that I should allow frontline level leaders to do instead of me scooting around them. I still struggle with it. But I'm better at catching myself and saying, nope, I'm going to wait until I know this person's got it. They're going to come to me when they're ready to come to me. And it's all part of just reminding myself that I am not the most important piece of this business. Our frontline team and our customers are the most important piece of this business.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, I can totally see why you're, being successful growing this company because you're definitely saying all the right things. One of the things that I try to coach CEOs that I work with on is, that your staff meeting is not a weather report. It's not an opportunity for everybody to come in and tell you what happened because you can know what happened. That work gets done before the meeting, right? You come into the meeting with just, okay, is everything on target or not? And if you've appropriately set objectives, That's pretty straightforward. Is it on target or is it not on target? If it's not on target, then we talk about it. Okay, what help do you need? You assign someone on your team is accountable for every, and they're not necessarily the only person that's doing everything involved in an objective, but they're all, someone is accountable for capturing all the information and kind of quarterbacking the process. And when you have that, you end up getting so much better alignment within your management team, and it trickles down through the entire organization. And that's where you really get everybody, to use an overused phrase, kind of rowing at the same cadence, right? Oars all together in sync, and that's when the magic happens, right? So let's shift a little bit and talk about marketing. I imagine you have investors or a board. How do you translate what you're doing with marketing and business development to that audience?
Um, I am very careful because most boards and investors go off of what they read on the internet, right? And so the key catchphrases, I've been in the VC world for years, and it's always the key catchphrase. How do we do this? How do we do that? How do we like AI? How are we investing in AI? Look, everybody expects us to be investing in AI, so I'm not bringing up that we're investing in AI. It's a part of every single thing we build in the product, right? It's just everything we do, we're replacing what the customer has to touch by allowing AI to think for them and make it where they don't have to touch it. So something like that, where what we've done is we have approached marketing differently than probably what I've done in the past. I've always been a part of a high velocity outbound engine, right? To where we're making 200 dials a day per rep, and we're just trying to get a couple of DMs to let us sign up and say, hey, right? And what we've done is we've committed on being a product led growth company. So we're not looking for 200 dials a day. We're looking for successful customer journeys inside of our product. So our marketing tends to be more of thought leadership, tends to be more of, hey, others just like you are using us, and here's how they're doing it well. And I think that's an education with your board. I think that's because they're not going to hear the same old, hey, we're spending this on Google, we're spending this on, Facebook ads, we're spending. What we try to say is, okay, look, remember, this is our strategy. This is what we're doing. Uh, Attending conversations like this are a big part of our life because we want people to truly know what our culture is, and we want people to truly know what the solution is that we're serving, right? And so I think it's just a constant alignment and education. But I also think you have to be willing to have the hard conversations with your board. You have to be willing to say, we're not going to do it traditionally. Here's what you can expect. And the funny part is you have to do it every single quarter at every single meeting. It's not just a one-time deal.
Yeah, definitely. Those groups tend to have somewhat short memories, and you get a lot of, you get a lot of suggestions of things that sound, faddish or chasing the next shiny object, so to speak. And while you have to treat all of those suggestions with respect, there is an art to tactfully taking that suggestion in and that energy and coming back with a, yeah, well, maybe we're not going to do exactly that, but here's what we're doing that solves the issue that you're trying to solve with that suggestion.
That's one piece I'm very passionate about too, is your board will give you what you ask for. I used to say that with salespeople. What you compensate salespeople are the results that they're going to give you, right? So like proper compensation plans drive the performance that you want. If you're not getting the performance, it's probably because your comp plan's not lined up with what you're trying to get done. With the board, I like to ask my partners for specific pieces. If we're looking for an acquisition and there's a software tuck in that we really need, that it's going to be too expensive or too daunting for us to build, I'm asking my board, hey, look, do you know anybody? Can you go looking? Can you take some time, have somebody? So I feel like, instead of just waiting to the board meeting to update them, the more conversations you have along the way to where they are a part of your actual decision making process on the daily business, then they understand where you're going, as opposed to getting a once every 90 days update and then bringing more of the fad pieces into the business. So I like to really honestly use them. I think to myself, I think our managing partner has 8 other companies. He's not like, his day is very busy. And they're 8 drastically different organizations from what we do. Right. So at the end of the day, if I was an investor, I can't keep up with those either, right? I'm getting 90-day updates. And if you're not pulling me in and letting me know what you're doing, you're going to get what I think is relevant and the information that I think you're going to need. So I think we've just tried to take a different approach and just communicate better and just be able to ask for help. Ask. I don't think it's any reflection on me as a CEO. If I ask you and say, I've never went down this road before, can you give me some input on this? I don't care that I don't know that. I don't care that you know I don't know that. Trying to make the right decision. I'd rather not run your business in the ground, and I'd rather be able to serve my customers.
Yeah, and make them part of the team and part of the
That's it.
solution. That's what
That's it.
they're there for.
That's it. You took on their investment, you diluted your cap table, but yet you don't want them in your business. So I don't understand. You know what I mean? It's got to be bigger. I also think it goes all the way back, and we can have a long conversation about this. When you choose a partner that is aligned with what you're trying to accomplish, right? Like that. At the end of the day,
Not so
instead of the
obvious.
person. No, but I think
Yeah.
it's true. You just nailed it. The bad part is, I think in the capital markets we've went through, we just took the person with the biggest check and best terms, right? Like that's, we don't, they seem real smart. Everybody graduated from Stanford or Harvard, and, they've built little things in an incubator along the way. So they ought to be okay. But I don't think in years past we've spent enough time really looking for the right partner.
Yeah, yeah, that is totally true. It is particularly, for a small business that's, or mid-sized business that's privately held, and you have private investors. You got to make those investors count. You put them on your cap table. You want people that are actually going to help you move the business forward in some way. And if you can't identify what that is, not the right person.
I always crack up because I always look at like investor groups, and you see this investor that has nothing but enterprise level investments. And then you notice that they just bought into this SMB focused business, and you're like, oh God, that's going to be interesting, right? Because you've got an investor that knows nothing about the SMB space, knows nothing about. It's such a different tone, a different communication, a different case. It's a different sales mechanism. It's all these different pieces. Why did you, as a management team, choose that investor who is enterprise focused? I would say the other way too. If it's all SMB's investments and you're an enterprise leader and all of a sudden you take on this company, what are you looking to gain out of that investor? They're not in the same ball field. They're not even playing the same game. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. And kind of along those lines, I'm curious, what about scaling a small or medium-sized business looks easy but is actually hard?
Yeah, product market fit. So you think, if you'll take us, right? Communications. Communicate, everybody needs it. Every single SMB, I would say, beyond the home service space, they use a cell phone, they answer web leads, they buy leads from someone. Like product market fit's not hard to establish. Like they need help addressing those, right? And you think, should be easy. I'll tell you this. We have rolled out an AI receptionist. Dirt cheap, super easy to set up all on your own. You don't have to call in. One of the things we hear a lot is, I don't have time to call you. You're telling me I don't have time to take calls, and then you're asking me to set up this product. And so we're like, great. We'll run a self-service, AI only, dirt cheap product, because we were taking all the different feedbacks. You're too much. It costs too much per minute. I just need something to vet through spam and be able to, handle basic. I just need basic, and I don't want to call your sales guy. I want to just do it myself. So we checked all the boxes, right? We got like 8 people to sign up for it in 5 months, right? And I'm like, what 8 people? What the heck? How does this happen? Because what they asked for still isn't exactly what they want. And then they go online and they're like, well, now I don't want to put my credit card in. Well, if you're self-service, you got to put your credit card in. So like, I don't understand, it's the nuance of a SMB business. It really thinks as a consumer. It's not B2B. It is really B2C. And so you can have this great product. We delivered exactly what they asked for. Nobody signed up for it. And then you know what ended up happening? Everybody signed up for it when they could talk to a person and walk through it. And you're like, I literally, this is what you guys asked not to do, right? And so it looks like product market fit's the easiest thing to nail, and the execution on actually getting an SMB customer to adopt. And I really think this. I think this is where all guys. This is. I am not a classically trained product or engineering folk. I'm a sales and marketing person, right? I have become through this business more of an engineering and product person, but I still think on a sales and marketing perspective and just about everything that we do. What is really interesting to me is the level of arrogance that we have when we think we are going to teach an SMB business owner how to do something different because this technology is better. And you're just so mistaken. You're not changing. You might provide a better way. And if they choose to adopt it, they will, but you're not teaching them to do some or forcing them to do something different. You really have to be on your game from a product, maybe UI, UX perspective to where it's so easy for them to do something different. You're not teaching them to do it. It's just easy for them to do it. And I think that's another piece for me also in the product is you're not going to teach them. They're busy doing their job. They don't want to have to learn to do something different. So you better make it great and they just adopt it, or you might as well just scrap it and go back to the original drawing board.
Yeah, the best customer experiences feel like magic, right? When you use them, they just feel like magic. Like, wow, this was so easy. It works so well. Another I think really interesting thing that you said there was when you asked people, they said one thing, and then when you looked at the behavioral data, it was completely different. And one of the reasons for that is when you ask someone what they are looking for, they'll tell you what they like, want, or need. But that's not really what motivates them. What really motivates them is the pain that they're experiencing or the fears that they have about their business failing or not being able to pay my mortgage because I didn't collect enough income or revenue last month, whatever it is. Uh, and so you really have to kind of dig at that to get to, or what is the pain or the fear that's motivating them. And then there's no substitute for looking at your own behavioral data. I'm shocked by how many people do not do that because people will tell you one thing, but you know what? Show me their actions.
You know what I also learned too is what they were telling us is they were frustrated with our process. So, like on the sales side of things, they're saying, I don't want to be bugged with your salesperson and transferred to another person who's going to set me up, who then transfers me to another person who's going to own my account. I don't want that process. That's what they're saying. I don't want to do that. So then one day we're like, why do we have to do it the same as everybody else? We're just going to have the salesperson own them for the first 90 days. They're going to set them up on that call. They're going to make them go live and they're going to be a hybrid CS salesperson. We know our true core sales volume will come down, but our retention should go up because we have a happier customer. We trialed it. All of a sudden now we're not getting the pushback of somebody saying, I don't want to go through your process. What they don't want to go through is all of what we don't want. I don't want to talk to 15 people. I want to talk to one person. I want to have a number saved to where I can text or call that person if I need something. And I don't want to have to guess who I'm going to be transferred to go get something done. And so I think like you're saying, like they're telling you, hey, this is what I want, but you also have to be open that maybe what they want is for us to change how we do something as well. It's not necessarily that they want to change their pattern. They just want us to make it easier.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a really important what you're doing with onboarding as well. There's, and I imagine your focus is probably really, really close to the initial sale in order to get onboarded, and you probably see a big correlation between those who go through onboarding early and their retention rates versus those who don't go through onboarding or go
Yes.
through it late.
I'll give you
And
the swing. I've got the
yeah,
number in my head. I will give
so
you the swing.
yeah, we love that.
We, if we get someone through 90 days, we are at a average of 3.5% in churn. So when customers get through the first 90 days, they only churn because businesses went out, they sell the business, some kind of an
Which are
economic shift.
uncontrollable. Yeah, those
It's
are uncontrollable.
uncontrollable.
Yeah.
It's uncontrollable. In the first 90 days, if we don't get somebody like onboarded, done, get them, show them a wow moment, get them in love, do stuff, we'll lose close to 30% of those customers in the first 90 days. Right. So you've got to swing there. That first 90 days, we essentially could do regular maintenance after the first 90 days. But that first 90 days, they have to know that we've got the right product, right solution, they're on the right plan. They're like everything has to be revolving around that first 90 days because it's a game changer for our business and how we support our customers.
Yeah, and I bet that the ones that don't go through onboarding, you might lose 30% in the first 90 days. You probably lose another 30% in the next 180 days.
Yes, because then yes. They're gone because here's what happens. They get 6 months down the road. They've paid for it, never utilized it. Now we refunded the whole 6 months. Plus they're upset at us for going 6 months and they never set up. Right. And so you've created a bad customer experience. They tell everybody that you're not doing the job you said you were doing. Well, right. And we used to blame the customer. We'd say, yeah, because you never called us back. We made 30 some phone calls to get you set up, right? And they didn't. But guess what? Then do something different, set up differently, right? Like do something different to get them, be passionate. We always say, like, we're so passionate about our customers. Well, then change your process to make sure that in the first 90 days, they're set up and they're going for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing marketing for over 3 decades, and one thing that I've never ever seen work is blaming the customer.
It never worked. And the bad part is we all do it because we think we have it figured out, right? And I'll tell you where I'm guilty of this. I have been multiple successful high velocity sales SMB businesses, right? Multiple. There was big acquisitions, the home base experience of mine, two phenomenal founders. Like guess what? Playbook doesn't work anymore. Got to do something a little different. But in my mind, I'm so scared of letting my customers down and not being able to serve them that you stay on this path that you've been on for the last 20 years. All these gray hairs that I earned in this facial hair, right? And so you stay on that path, and it's very difficult to say, I'm going to do something different. And I think that's ultimately what also causes you to be a self fulfilling proclamation.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it uh, gives you a just having the curiosity about how we constantly remove friction from our process, from our funnel. The understanding that the sale isn't over when someone gives you their credit card number and lets you bill the first 6 months. You
Not at
know,
all. And even
the
then, it's not
onboarding
over
process.
because, yeah,
Yeah,
they're going to
the
charge you
onboard.
back anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, you're gonna get refunded anyway because they didn't use it. So that sales process has to continue much past that initial check. And I wonder, I would ask you a quick, just tactical question, because I think it might be interesting to our audience. Are you doing 6 month contracts or 1 year contracts or monthly? How do you price?
My investor hates this, and I will tell you, most of the investment community hates this. But I will say, in the SMB world, we earn their business every single month. We have a 30-day cancellation process because we staff up and staff down to take care of our customers. So we need a little bit of flexibility. But this is something I'm very passionate about. The customers that I serve don't have long-term contracts. They get repeat business based on the job they do. Right. And so if we're going to be in the trenches with them, then we're going to earn their business every single month. And we're going to make sure that the contract really, who cares? Now we have some larger customers where, excuse me, it is a lot for us to support them. So we are on contracts because it's a major investment for us to be able to deliver the service they need. But for the core piece of our business, our contract is we agreed to do a job. And we're going to show up and do it every day. And you're going to continue to pay us.
Yeah. And just out of curiosity, have you ever tested a different pricing methodology? For example, you talk about how important the first 90 days is. Do you have any kind of, hey, free for the first 90 days and then you start paying us and we bill you back for the first 3 months? Or, maybe it's a 15-month contract and the first 3 months you have an out and then it locks in after that. Something that gives someone an incentive to try and also gives your team an incentive to say, hey, we've got to do really well up front here so that we can lock this customer in for the long term. Curious if you ever try anything like that.
You're dead down the path we're going down. So I will say this, like, imagine the day when. I'm a big imagine the day when person. I'm a huge freemium fan because I believe there's a core piece of your market that wants to learn to get to use your product and then they will pay you for it. Goes back to the earning their business piece, right? So the road that we're heavily invested in the coming year of 2026, coming up here in less than a couple of weeks, right, is, offering a service that is free of charge. And you know what? It's a very basic service. And if you want to use that basic service, we'll provide it to you free of charge. It is a marketing lever on our end. It is not a product strategy. It is 100% a marketing strategy, right? But we feel like the market that we serve needs to understand that the solution is right for them before we ask them for a longer term commitment. And so we're tightening up both sides. We're tightening up the commitment side, but also loosening up the barrier to entry because from a marketing perspective, we feel like now we finally have a robust enough product that we can offer you the opportunity to try it for free. It was very hard to do when we were simply a service because you pay so much to answer calls that it's very difficult to have some kind of a free model, right? There's no technology you're investing in; it's human capital to get it done.
Yeah, you
So
get to add a unit of labor to every unit of business that you
you're
add. It doesn't
and it
scale. So
becomes, yeah, the unit economics don't work. It becomes so expensive that you're bankrupting the business. And ultimately, then you can't deliver the service that you're committing to give anyway. Right. So then ultimately, that's where you get. But yes, that's where we want to make it as easy to get started as possible, but then turn around and say, look, now we're going to ask for a longer term. We want you to stay with us longer term.
yeah, just sort of along those lines, is there an experiment that you tried where the results surprised you, either good or bad?
Yes. So the AI only receptionist piece shocked me to death because people are still very, very leery of AI. They know that they should be using it. They are not confident that their customers are okay with it. And so we went to a model where, look, we're going to give you US based human touch and it costs way more than AI or a Latin America nearshore based program, right? But what we'll offer you is you're paying more, but it is guaranteed it's someone in the US, guaranteed it's a human, guaranteed it's going to look, feel, sound just like you and your business. And what was shocking to us is our customers were willing to pay the higher price. Our customers were willing to spend more money to have what made them feel comfortable, right? And so what we've done is then take that and say, okay, well then as we market we need to find the right fit. There are folks out there who they will pay more and they want to drive a Cadillac. That is what it is. They know what a Cadillac feels like. They know what they get when they start it up, and that's where they want to be. And then there are also customers that say, look, I don't really care about the Cadillac. I need a base work truck that gets me to and from. Well, then we have that solution also. But we just needed to better know our customer and then build products that could better fit the different customer needs.
Right. And I imagine that there's probably a hybrid model out there as well, where, it's live during certain day parts or live during certain geographies, right? Maybe your tight little zip code where you typically service live, but everything else is AI. I can think of a lot of ways to split that volume up to start getting people more and more comfortable. It really is interesting because, I work with a couple companies that do some similar things. And it really is interesting. It's not just the small businesses that are leery of AI. Big enterprises are very leery of it as well for use in customer communications. And there's got to be a lot of guardrails around it to even get people to try it. I'm curious, like, as you talk about sort of the different customer groups that you have, how do what are the keys for a small, medium-sized business owner, um, in choosing you? Like, how do they make their decisions?
This is a fundamental switch in the way that we speak to our customers. That's actually going right down the line you're going down. When we started, I'm a big daydreamer. I dream about this business at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I dream about it 6 o'clock in the evening. And it's a sickness, and it is what it is. But I'm thinking, how can we reinvent ourselves? What's our positioning? What should we be saying? And here's where when we first started, we were like, let us do it for you, right? You don't want to do all this. Let us do it for you. And what you're actually seeing in the market today, we have rebuilt our entire internal system to wrap around, take control of your business, not let us do it for you because if you think of our typical customer is a very type A, someone who said, I don't want to work for somebody else. I can do a better job on my own. And I'm going to go start my own business and I'm going to go do it myself. And I want to be in control of my schedule. I want to be in control of my earnings, my family, everything. Right. And so now I'm saying to that person subconsciously, just let me take over talking to all of your customers. Let me take over talking to all your prospects. lose all control. Let us port your number. You'll never touch a customer ever again. That's basically what you're telling them, right? Like, we're going to do behind the scenes voodoo magic and you don't know what's going on, right? And so yeah, sure you are. And oh, by the way, I don't want you to, right? Like I don't, because I know Mr. Smith down the road, and I've plowed his driveway for the last 15 years, and I don't want you behind the scenes owning that relationship. I own that. It's my name on the front of the building, right? It's Wilson Heating and Air, it's Wilson Plumbing, it's Wilson Electrical, right? Like I own this. So what we've shifted the way that we speak to our customers, proving to them that we're hearing you, we're listening. We know you want control, but you need to be able to take control. One of the things finances limited us being able to have a mobile application. It was $100,000 to develop the mobile application we needed. We needed to build the infrastructure internally to where that mobile app was actually valuable. So we invested in the internal system first, and now we're rolling out the mobile application. With the mobile application, to your point, they can be AI first to block all the spam. They could say, I want it to go AI first and then be transferred to a live person when my customer says, hey, give me somebody at the location, right? Or if they just need to confirm an appointment, great. AI will take care of confirming the appointment. Here's your time. If you want to change your on call schedule, currently you have to call us. If Rich calls in, you've got to call us and say, I'm actually having Tommy cover this now, not Rich, right? We'll put that in the mobile app to where you can go in and you can take control of it, right? It's being a partner versus saying, let us do it for you. And a lot of our technology limitations are why we had to say, let us do it for you, because that was the only freaking thing we offered. Like at the end of the day, I would tell my team, I'd be like, we got it. You'll be their partner. And they're like, yeah, great. All we can do is this. So at the end of the day, Luke, we're not really much of a partner. We're just delivering on the service. And we've gotten to a point now where we're able to actually let them know, hey, we heard you. And what we're rolling out. And January 5th is a big day for us because we're launching 5 new features in our product that should allow everybody to take more control of their business. We just want to be the conduit that helps them do that.
Yeah. And the the interesting thing about, I think that what you said about control, is, we talked earlier in our conversation about pains and fears, and that fear of giving up control, I'm sure one of the biggest barriers to someone buying. And like, how do you? I mean, because you can tell them, "Oh, trust us." That's not going to work, right? How do you, how do you address that kind of emotion, that fear that they're feeling through the sales process? I mean, everything from what you say on your website to what your salespeople say to how you actually get them on board.
Yep. So the first thing is we remove the salesperson jargon. I am a salesperson through and through. I grew up in the car business, which is even worse. When people hear that, they're like, oh my God, you're the ultimate salesperson, right? You don't listen, you're just pushing cars. I get it. Ours was a little different because family owned business you took differently because your name's on the sign. But you're still a salesperson through and through. We changed that culture from the beginning all the way through. We realized that we have to be a trusted advisor. So we don't have a salesperson. We have a solution specialist. And that solution specialist, their job is to close the customer. Like at the end of the day, we're all selling. I don't care who you are. We have a accounts receivable team. They're selling. They're like, look, you're happy with the service. We need you to pay us, right? Like, so everybody in the business is selling. But at the end of the day, our customers need to know that others just like them, people that look like them, feel like them, live where they live, have used us and trust us. Which is why we do non-traditional marketing as well. I can buy Google paid ads all day long. And guess what? They click on it and it looks like it's successful. It doesn't convert because there's no trust. There's no relay of confidence. There's not others just like them have used us, right? So we have invested internally at shaping the way we look, shaping the way that we talk to a customer. A lot of training internally around being that trusted advisor. It's not about missed calls. It's about giving you back time. And it's not about taking your time and we go do this for you. It's about teaching you how you can use our solutions to give yourself back that time and to give yourself back that control. Because I also think a lot of business owners aren't going to tell you, hey, I want control. They don't know that that's what they're trying to verbalize, right? But what they're saying is, I want control. And so we've focused on education. Sydney is like I mentioned earlier, she's in charge of our marketing, our product. She is very big on the giving back control piece. And she's also very big on, we want to be known as that trusted advisor, not the person that puts Facebook and Google ads in front of you nonstop. And so her focus from the product and the marketing side is to just keep our customer educated. Let them know, like, here's what we do and here's how we're going to help you. And you're going to get to talk to the exact same person for the first 3 months. You don't have to worry about dialing a different, you're not going to get transferred. You can pick up the phone and text us. You can pick up the phone and call us, but we are here for you. You just tell us how you need us.
Yeah, and I've seen that strategy, that same similar strategy in positioning work in other areas. Even in large consumer brands. I when I was charged with kind of bringing the Ditech brand back into the mortgage world and looking at how to rebrand the organization, one of the things that became really apparent was that people didn't want you to do everything for them in the mortgage process. They wanted to walk through it with you so that they understood what they were getting. And because there was so much fear and anxiety around getting a mortgage, buying a new home, that positioning ourselves as a partner you can trust, as opposed to, we have great rates, we have low fees, or which is just a race to the bottom. Positioning ourselves as a partner you could trust really was the key to unlocking the growth in that organization. And it sounds like you've tapped into a similar vein, which is excellent to see. All right, so I think we're kind of coming to the end. I'm going to be respectful of your time, so we'll do a little bit of a lightning round. I'm going to fire a few questions at you, and just give me what comes to mind. Right. So, what would you say is the most influential leadership or business book you've read?
Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. I think that it's not typically considered a business book or like a sales book, or I think it is very much a human book that shapes you personally and professionally. I've read it about 4 times now. And I think that it just helps you understand. I'll say this, and you said be quick. A lot of books that you read want to change how you think. I think that mindset is about understanding how you think, right? And understanding how you can get better results and still dance within the human that you are.
Yeah, that's great. I got that on my reading list. Haven't read it yet, so now it's gonna get shuffled to the top. What is the most underrated tool in your tech stack?
Hmm. Underrated tool. I would probably say my notes app. Just because it is, I put everything there and can reference it. But I would say, if you ask me, is this the most powerful tool you have? It's a freaking notes app. No, so no, it's probably not. But yeah, I actually think it really is, because I jot things down on it all day long, and I have a horrible memory now because it's clogged with all this goofiness. And so it helps me stay on track.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, great. Well, appreciate that. Sometimes it's the simplest things that get overlooked, right? And that really life changing. All right, so where can people go to learn more about you, more about Signpost, websites, social resources you'd recommend?
Signpost website's the best place. It is who we are and who I am. I try to be active on LinkedIn. I run through these phases where I get tired of all the spam and sales on LinkedIn, and then I'm busy running the business. But I would say, if you want to see what we're doing within Signpost, we try to stay active on LinkedIn from a social perspective. But our website's the best place to kind of see who we are and what we're doing.
Fantastic. Well, Lucas, thank you so much. I think this has been a fantastic conversation. We covered a lot of ground and a lot of areas that I think are going to be very interesting to our audience. So really appreciate your time, and happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you all. And I'm just very humbled that you chose me to have the conversation. So thank you very much for it.